Okay. I think we'll get started. Thank you guys all for coming to GERMANTECH's World Changer in Tech meetup. Today we'll be talking about the new dawn of PropTech and sustainability. I know the weather isn't great, so thank you guys for coming out. And I think we'll have a really interesting and fun discussion today. So what we're going to do is discuss with our panelists for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. I'm really excited for the panel that we were able to set up because we're going to have some insights from the corporate as well as from the startup level regarding what's happening in PropTech. Before we would start, just to get a feeling for the audience, how many are actively involved in PropTech right now? Okay, so that's about, what was it, 45%? 40%? And who's not familiar with PropTech at all and is here to just, oh good. So only one person doesn't know about PropTech? Two, good. Yeah, that's the whole point why we at GERMANTECH like to have our platform, so we can help create more transparency regarding all the technical and digital solutions that are out there to make the world a better place. And that will be our focus today. And when I think about PropTech, this is something personally I got to know 6 months ago, so for me it was actually a very new definition. And the easiest way I think to look at PropTech, because I think the industry itself is still trying to figure out what facets belong to PropTech, where does it begin, where does it end. It seems like a very big cycle of different actors that are in it. And the way I like to think about it myself is, man didn't stray too far from the cave, or woman didn't stray too far from the cave, and now our caves have gotten really modern. They're so modern that we work in them, or we go to school in them, and simply if you walk outside, all you see are buildings. So everything from building them to, how do people live in them? How do we make them healthier? How do we make them more sustainable? How do utilities act with them? How do building owners, managers work with them? How do the contracts work with them? These are all these various facets that are part of PropTech. And so I think with the panel today, we will get a deep dive into what these different areas are and how they're helping. So to introduce our panel, all the way from Hamburg, we have Jan from Union Investment. He's the head of sustainability.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody.
You're welcome, Jan.
It's not so far from Hamburg to Berlin, actually. It's like bus drive.
Yeah, but it's great that you came regardless of the weather. The train didn't veer away, so that was great. And Kilian is from WORLD. And he's our, if you'd like, you can all introduce yourselves.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Kilian. I work for the company WORLD. It's a screw company, or a screw wholesale company, quite big. All almost 80,000 people work for the company. And screw and construction and so on is quite a big topic. So we started to develop a project for trades companies to digitalize them or to improve that.
Yeah, and next we have Julia's with us from Architrave, and you guys are wizards of documentation.
Yeah, that's part of it. So hi, I'm Julia. I'm working at Architrave, and we're a document management system, so to say, helping the real estate industry to digitalize their documents, to sort them the right way, and to actually store them and find the information they are looking for. Because I don't know if you know, for those who are not at PropTech, everything in real estate is based on documents, and PDFs are their favorite, and Excel, so it's really difficult to get the right information. And we are making sure that they find the right information.
And we have Heiko with us from Solana, which is a fairly new startup, I would say, in the field. Maybe you can tell everyone what you guys do.
Hello everyone, my name is Heiko. I'm from Solana. We are like a young biotech startup located in Adlershof. We do research on allergy and develop products based on allergy research. Currently making our first business case with a product which is an indoor purifier for cleaning indoor air, and we are currently developing this system for outside use near streets. We want to build huge air filters at houses projects, new streets to clean the air in cities. That's basically what we do.
So we have two great examples in terms of startup, because I know that Solana, when we were talking at construction and tech, the idea is, biotech meets PropTech, so how does it fit in? And basically it's how people can live indoors, right, sustainably, as well as how do you create healthy breathing air. And we have Architrave in regards to documentation to hear more about that in terms of, what does sustainability mean for you guys. So I'd like to go back to Jan, because what's really interesting is 13% of the global GDP is in real estate, and that's huge. So from being one of Europe's largest real estate funds, how does a big corporate go about the topic of sustainability? So what have been your strategic steps the last few years?
First of all, you have to know that we don't build buildings, we just buy buildings, run buildings and sell them again, so that's quite hard for us to find the right buildings. On the other hand, everybody wants to invest into properties right now. It's one of the most interesting investments you could do right now, so it's kind of hard to get the right properties. And when you know that the problem is not with the new buildings, it's in the already existing buildings. That's roughly about 90% worldwide. So that's the big topic you have to deal with. And since we're an investment manager, and legally those are our buildings, but correctly it's the investor, the customer, and the banks who owns the buildings or has bricks from the buildings. So we always have to keep in mind that we still get a percentage rate for him, so he gets something back from his investment. So it's kind of hard to, on the one side, you want to really make the world better and get more sustainable, which is truly really in our company. We don't start it off since Greta's running around the world and telling everybody to be more sustainable. Even though I personally think that she has done something good and everybody talks about it, as you can think about it whatever you want, but I think it's good that everybody talks about it. So, to make the point, I've learned a lot since I've been with the company since 2013, and since 2017 we overthinked our whole sustainability strategy to become more sustainable, because we know that we have to face the problem and to solve the problem, because otherwise all our investments will strand and one day we can't sell them again. So we have to deal with it, we have to have strategy, and from the top we have to really get it down in all the buildings. So therefore we need startups as well to solve the problem, because we need new techniques and technologies within the building to be more efficient, to not to use so much energy and to produce so much CO2 or carbon emissions. So that's the good point that I'm here today and could talk to you, and you understand my point of view better, because we don't have all these shiny buildings made out of wood like this one. We have kind of simple buildings. In an efficient way, it's always good to have a simple building, because you have to open the window by yourself, you have to run the stairs by yourself, you don't have air conditioning, everything. That's good on the one side. But on the other side, we also have huge office buildings in the United States, or we invest in 23 countries. So it's kind of hard to fulfill the requirements, and therefore we need innovations and we need the PropTechs.
And I think we can hand over the baton to Kilian, because from Ruth's perspective, construction and tech, but it's also a big part of PropTech. When it comes to the innovation, because a lot of corporates and especially real estate management is looking to partake, at least 50% of the real estate investors are looking to invest in startups. What are some of the things that you guys are doing in terms of innovation for sustainability, or what you guys are looking for when it comes to startups or generally for business development?
I think it's a big move going on when you look into like private house builders, they want to have actually now sustainable products. So even for wood, it's a point that, for example, we have like from cradle to cradle, like
A cradle to cradle.
from cradle to cradle, exactly. We have like so even wood invests into that because it's a thing which is going on in the market, and I think the users wants it. So that's the good thing at the moment. We are in the user market now, and from a wood's perspective, we started a year ago to look into startups, to look what is available. Especially wood is not a digital first company, so there is, I think that's for all over Germany, all over Europe, necessary that we change our mindset. We understand actually what's going on based on data, and we find startups which are good at it, and then try to kind of implement it in our current business solutions. I mean, companies like wood have money, so they can think about it, they have the users, so it's actually quite a nice portfolio of opportunities.
Before maybe when Julia talks about Architrave and Heiko about Solana, maybe you guys can think about a few examples of startups that you find very innovative in the sustainability space. Just so you guys can share some ideas later. I'm giving you time because I know like being on the spot can be difficult. So I'm going to give you some time. And
I actually have a question because it would be interesting to know how you actually integrated them into the corporate environment, because from a startup perspective, not necessarily our perspective, but in general, it's really difficult to match the business model of a startup to the corporate, not even the business model, but the whole working processes. So we are working agile, you're probably not working agile, so how do you connect this? That would be interesting.
Answer that one, and then later we can also dive in that one a little bit more.
Sorry,
interrupted
it's a very interesting and also a little bit of an unfair question, because we are at the starting point of it. I was founder from a startup before, and I would say it's good. I'm in between the startup and my company, and it's a tough thing. So exactly, it's like, but we need to set up the processes.
I wanted to add too, Kilian is a little bit of a joker because he's representing two sides, because he has a startup called OBAB, also in construction and tech, and he's also at WORLDCHANGERS, so he understands the complexities of being a startup and being a big player, and that was something we were going to discuss towards the end of the panel. But maybe Jan, you can...
Yes, on the example of Architrave, I could tell you guys how we do it. We just gave them the money and leave them the way they are, and we like to discuss things with them so they understand what the customer really wants and really needs, and so he can, in his daily life, solve all the problems he has, and we leave them in their structure and don't disturb them the way they would usually work, because we are really more a big ship and very slow and very, I don't know. So we leave them that way, and that's the way we work together with startups. And as well, we have the PropTech Innovation Summit, where we want to tell startups or PropTechs, here's the old economy who wants to discuss problems with you, and maybe we can work something out together and make the first pilot project or something like that. And that's why I also have two ideas in sustainability projects.
So maybe we'll hand it over to Julia so you can tell them a little bit more about what Architrave is doing, because I know it's a little bit more intricate than how we've introduced it, so they can get an idea of it, because like I said, PropTech has so many different facets, and it's a great way to understand in terms of documentation. I'll let you take the floor on this.
Thank you. So it's not as easy as you described, having a wall with algae and then producing actually O2. What we're doing is, so I'll better describe the process how it was before, or mostly is in real estate, is that you have a lot of documents, and these documents describe an asset. So the information about these documents could be either physical or digital, but usually they're in a very unstructured way, lying somewhere in a filing system or in another repository. Around like 4 different databases a usual customer of ours had before. And what we are doing is actually then scanning them in the first step when they are still analog, or when they're digital, we'll review them and check whether they're actually relevant for an asset manager, because also there are 30% duplicates because you have so many systems. And then we bring them on one platform. And this platform allows them to have them on one place all the time and to get people who are working with these documents access. So one example you said before, when you actually want to sell your building and you need a financing for this, then you can show these financing documents via the platform to the bank, for example, to check if all the information that is relevant to evaluate this asset is there. So this is one of the main use cases where we started. And what we figured out why this is so important for our customers is when you have all of your information digital, you can actually sell it right away. If you have all the documents that you need to sell it, then you can just click and then it's sold. A use case which happened before several years ago is that companies looked for half a year for documents because they were somewhere in an archive of some other seller from a former buyer somewhere, so they couldn't actually sell the asset fast enough. So this is giving them a strong advantage in the market to actually improve their portfolio and to get revenue out of this.
And I think one aspect that we also had discussed before the panel, when you think about sustainability, it's not always just the environment, right, or the building materials, but it's also people. It's focused on people. So one of the solutions, or the solution you have in the market, actually helps people become more efficient. And you had a few more better anecdotes to that than I did.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so of course, once you have everything that you're looking for on one platform, it's much easier to find the information you're looking for. Studies actually show that 30% of daily work of an asset manager is looking for information. You have high-paid, high-qualified people who are searching in different systems for information that is super easily accessible if it would be on one place. So we're making, of course, their work more efficient, and at the end helping them to take the time to actually go to the asset and see whether they need to do something there, how they can actually improve it, and then improve the portfolio on this one as well. So the kind of the innovation which we brought into the market was Delphi, which is actually sorting automatically all the documents. So it's recognizing, so there's an artificial intelligence recognizing what document it is and then sorting it in the correct place. So you don't even have to name the document anymore. So it's everywhere, or it's there where it should be and not everywhere else.
Okay, and I think for moving from like human resources and how humans are affected by being indoor, I think Heiko, you could tell us a little bit also more about Solana in a sense, because you guys are helping people be healthier, live healthier, work healthier in their space. And when I found you guys, I thought it was very interesting to see that you guys have created this algae that's filtering the air. It'd be great if you could tell us a little bit more of where did the idea come from? How long did this process start from an academic research point of view? Because for many startups, it's also interesting to know from a lab, right? Like what are the chances of becoming successful moving from a lab as a startup? So maybe we'll take that one question at a time.
Okay, I mean the easiest part is like it was like a research program at the university at Humboldt University, and I developed into kind of a company which was founded in 2017. And the basic idea, it's not that easy, but the basic idea is using the natural mechanism of the algae, producing oxygen and reducing CO2 basically and other stuff, other particles and stuff, to develop products that are usable in cities and are usable especially in indoors because what we try to achieve is to replace technical solutions for air purification, which has every major building with biological ones. And we want to do this indoor and outdoor. Yeah,
and I think also to visualize it for the audience, because obviously I've researched this, so I've seen it. But if you think about Solana, it's almost like it looks like a picture, right? I mean, like you have a big a picture with, it's green and that's the algae actually living within the frame, and then you can hang it up somewhere. So
yeah, the idea is in the biofilm, which is in the picture. That's a little bit a difficult one, but for like a customer, it basically looks like a picture, yeah, and you can hang it on your wall next to other pictures or something like that. And it purifies the air the whole time. It gets air from outside, left, right, and above, and yeah, uses the natural properties of the algae to purify the air.
cool, and I would then maybe hand it over to our bigger corporate representatives. Maybe of an example that you guys thought of, and for example, a startup such as Solana, is that interesting for either of you, or how do you place startups in this PropTech area? Like, how would you do it from your own perspective?
Of course, what you just explained to us is really interesting, because we see that the startups are more productive when it's a healthy area where they work in or live in. Therefore, we always, when we do fit outs for tenants, what we don't really do, because normally the tenant do it by themselves, but we tell them how to do it, or help them to find the right solutions, the right floor carpeting, or the seats, or wood which is in tables or whatever, so they don't have any allergic or gas polluting out of it. So it's really helpful. And to come up with 2 startups you just asked for, which help us, or which we work together with actually right now, is one is Fizzy. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Fizzy is a Netherlands company or startup, and they do windows. It's made out of the word physics and C. So they do windows, and they have solar panels around the windows, so you produce with the windows solar energy. You don't produce that much solar energy actually, but it should be used to run the blinds, or get sunshades working which are outside, so it helps you to reduce your energy use within the building. And as well, they have some sort of membrane on the window, so it's almost like a skin which senses the temperature and the weather, and is it humid or more dry, so you can use this data to run your technical bigger parts like air conditioning or heating. So that's one example, and the other example will be Double. I don't know if you work with them. Double is a software solution which uses all the data you collect within the building, like consumption data, temperatures, if you have sensors on your main technical parts within the building. This software tries to with this artificial intelligence to find out which will be the correct temperature within this room or the other room, or if it's empty, it reduces the air quality, so you don't use so much energy. And they do it only with the software, and they go over your already technical software, which is mostly installed already in the building, so they run the building with the software. So it's another example.
Which I just wanted to add, both of them were finalists,
yes.
I believe, at the PropTech Innovation Award. Because,
but I didn't want to tell us close competitor to the guy on the right, so I would have come up with another startup as well, which is Green City Street Solutions. Yeah, but they're mainly on the outside, they're not in the inside building. They produce, it looks kind of weird. It's like a bank where you can sit and rest for a while, and it's like a brick wall, and it's moss inside, and it's also
okay, we're talking Green City Solutions are also sitting here with her, but I meant the other 2 that you mentioned were also finalists. Yes. I believe at
encompasses as well. So
yeah, well, because one of the points I wanted to make for anyone that is coming from a corporate perspective, because the question always comes up, like, how do you get to the startups? How do you find the startups? And one simple way to do it is that you create a platform where you can basically seek out the startups. You have a prize, an innovation award, and it's obviously worked out really well for you guys.
Yeah, it does. So I know in the first place we did it, we had like more than 200 attendances applying for this award, and we screened them. I'm always responsible, of course, for sustainability or green tech, and the better the application form is, the better I understand it, because sometimes you just see the web page and you don't get what they're really doing.
It's a techies.
Yeah, so it's always good that you have the right information there, so even a non-technical guy like me can understand what you are inventing.
I think this is super important that Union, for example, does this because these platforms actually help them to make sure what is their business model. Because what we also see is, over the recent years, so many new PropTechs popped up. So I don't know, we started around 100, 200, now we have 500 maybe. And for actual customers to compare all of these, it's impossible. But also for those PropTechs who have a real good business model and who have a solution which can really help the industry to innovate, they have to have a platform where they can actually present it. Because they actually have a solution which then can be used in others. Sometimes I don't know about the business model.
The only last thing I want to add is that you have to be very patient with us because we're not as fast as you guys. Once you start talking to us, it can also take up to a year until we really get down to business. So you have to be so you have to be really patient with us because we're too big, too much time takes it.
And that wasn't intended to be advertising at all. I mean, it was just, I wanted to make a point that that's actually how corporates and startups can work very well with each other. And I think, Kilian, you can also...
At least I can add two other examples. So, for example, one thing what we do at the moment is we develop this trades company software solution, where actually we as Word IT, we develop a platform and it's kind of a marketplace app store, and what we take care of is that we can integrate other solutions from other startups, tech companies and so on. So we don't want to invent the wheel newly, we say we look for the best solutions in the market and we integrate them and we make kind of a revenue share deal with them. So we can give them access to customers, they can money with us, and the future of such a company will be like that maybe they can say 40% of my revenue comes now from Word. So that's one example we have got. The second one is Word has got a lot of knowledge in different markets. I can give a rough example because still I cannot talk about it. But for example, roof is the roof itself is a very interesting topic. It's actually unknown what is under the roof, when should the roof be replaced, and we talk at the moment with another startup which helps on the databases to understand actually what is there. And the idea is that we leave them, exactly like you said, we leave them, they work together with us, we give them our knowledge and they develop the product and we have a good contract with them, and then we can kind of go into the market and they have a good sales engine. Yeah.
And what I was also thinking, when it comes to roofs, was probably a panel for itself. But Germans are one of the best, engineers, makers, and I think home builders or building builders. Do you think there's much more knowledge in the German expertise market than there might be in other countries regarding to how to build? Can more innovations come out of German PropTechs in comparison to maybe? The US is booming, Asia's booming. If anyone has an answer, that'd be great. I'm just curious.
I can only go for the construction tech perspective, but yes, in Europe, Germany is quite leading in certain areas, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe, Julia, being a startup yourself, do you see, and you were mentioning how the market has grown, do you see the PropTech as a boom that's going to flatten? Or do you think there's just going to be more startups growing in the field?
I think it depends a bit on how they are actually, if they find customers. So how does the market respond? So that's the one thing, because if they can't find a customer, then they won't exist. But so I think there will be also more collaboration is one point. Because what we, for example, experience is we are one of the early stages PropTechs, and we are existing now for 7 to 8 years, and we have more than 60 customers, and they're actually using us. And those who are coming newer, it's really difficult for them to enter the market. So one thing that you mentioned with the platform would be also what our mission is, to actually build an ecosystem to help other PropTechs to kind of like access information and give a value to our customers through our platform. So I think more of these platforms will come up at one point. This is one thing, and to the internationality, I think the real estate industry is very inhomogeneous. That's a word. So it's not really easy to just apply an American PropTech to the European market. Nevertheless, this could also be an option at one point in time. Did they come over?
Well, I think more of them probably will, because you just generate more ideas, the more diverse the people are, the teams are, because the US is a market in itself. And Heiko, from a young startup perspective, do you feel that it's difficult to get the customers that you need, or?
Yeah, I mean, for Solana, we are a little bit lucky with our first product. So we can actually say to investors that our first product is selling, which is an important point for every when you talk to an investor. That's what we learned for like the last half year, how to talk to investors. And one big point was, if you can say that your first product or your product is selling, that customers are coming to your company to buy what you have built. That's a big point for you. I want to make one point from the perspective of a startup. There are like a lot of different ways how investors can help. It's difficult to get customers because we don't have like a huge network. So we can use social media. With social media, it's much easier for startups now, because with little money you can achieve a lot of things. But investors can help us. Obviously, money is the big point, but also networks, space for us. If you're talking about real estate companies, the space is very important. When we are able to scale up our production, we have to be very quick in getting space, new room, and stuff like that are as important as money for us. Basically, it is money for us. Yeah, same value.
And to slowly start wrapping up the round, when it comes to personal missions or wishes, PropTech and sustainability, is there any personal, or even from your startup, like a vision that you hope happens in the next 10 years? Besides just seeing your own product everywhere, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, the one problem for like this area of sustainability is that many investors are, at this point, many investors are looking for like short-term money. They want to know that their money is quickly multiplied for them. And the problem with sustainability in this whole field, with solution in this field, it's not that quick. It's not like an app. And that's maybe one vision we have, that when it's actually like funded also by state programs, and that more investors are willing to do long-term investments, like I'm talking like 5 or 7 years, so we can really achieve and develop something together. And we're not looking at the ROI for like years, not in half a year I want my money back. That's very difficult for startups in this area, which is another point in creating an app. You can be very fast. That's maybe.
Yeah, well, that's a great answer, and I'll let you guys respond to it when the mic comes back down your way. How, what are the things that, well, I thought maybe you also want to have a vision of what could happen in the next 10 years, but then I'll let you guys take the opportunity to maybe answer how you also wish that it would be in a corporate setting.
So you said 40% of global GDP is real estate. It would be great if we had all these digital on our platform. Just a small vision. But I think how we want to achieve this this in the next years is that we have to actually collaborate more and being faster, and that's from both sides, because corporates, they have to adjust to how software is developed, so there's not a fixed deadline sometimes, and that's really unsatisfying to know from a corporate point of view. But still, then to actually deliver. So that's a lot of trust and collaboration in there. And I think if I had a wish to do, I would wish for collaboration and trust, and to jointly go forward. And then both sides can learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, it's I can actually confirm that. It's I see it from both sides, as Anna said already. The point is, we start to work with startups at the moment, so I hope that inside Word, inside Word, where we have like a certain culture, we can kind of adapt the culture or improve the culture, and work together with startups, because we need to get more digital, and I think not even the 30%, 40% GDP is it, it's like 40% of CO2 emission is also to building, so we have to do a huge job, and I mean, I think in Germany we're still quite okay-ish with our, how we, I don't know what's Dämmen, how we...
Insulation,
thank you. How we insulate our buildings, but in the world I think there's a big job to be done, and maybe we can start something from Europe or Germany, that we improve, that we learn, and that we help to make teams work great together. So this is like a little bit the mission of our team of Word. Thank you.
I think those are really great insights, and Jan, we've talked about this too, that there's like these two sides, one is the corporate, and then there's the person, but I'll let you...
Yeah, I think the main thing is that we have to act, that we have to really act within the buildings and reduce the carbon emissions, and not just to talk about. I think collaboration is good, and we have to collaborate, but we have to come across, or not talk about green certification anymore. We have to really do something in the building, because certification or other colorful pictures, I think we should get over it. We have to do something about it. We don't have that much time anymore. And what I really want to see is, as you mentioned, German engineering. I would like to see more really technical German engineering, because we don't have those digital, highly sophisticated buildings. And that's all over the place. That's 90%, as I just told you. So we need solutions for that, because to give you a number or an example, we have to get to 100 kilowatt hours per square meter, and most of the time we are way above that level, so we have to somehow reduce all these energy consumptions. And on the other hand, we get all the fancy gadgets like apps, and we can enter or make reservations within rooms, or open the windows and everything, but that also, on the other hand, we have to manage again to reduce the carbon emissions. So therefore we need good old German engineering.
I like that. So we basically have this idea to maybe be more understanding and maybe taking more risks, right? And that we need to collaborate further with each other, and generally to act and not just do the talk. And surely there's a lot of room for improvement, but I think this is the first step forward, that we talk about all the positive things digitalization is doing for us, and the entrepreneurs that are doing for more positive change and sustainability. I will now hand over the floor to the audience if anyone has questions. Not too many. Yes. I'll hand you the mic. Hold on.
Just Jan, maybe for you a question. You said we need more engineering, we need more maybe sustainable building materials, or like how to enhance insulation and stuff. The regulation is quite a tough nut to crack. Do you have any ideas how maybe a big player like you could support startups in that way?
I think, as we just talked about already, it's good to understand the customer needs, and since we are kind of special house holder or property owner, you have to understand what we're really allowed to, like regulatorily, because, for example, we are not allowed to install solar panels and give the energy to the tenants, which is quite ridiculous, but that's the way it is. Yeah, we have to talk together to find solutions how we can work this out. Maybe you can install the solar panels and sell the energy to the customer, to our tenants. And just to have an example, we have to find different ways or new ways to find solutions for the using phase. It's always good to have building information modeling, but we're not there already. We need a lot more buildings planned this way, and when we are there and have building information modeling, we have this twin of the actual building. A lot of things will be a lot more easier. That's why I always say digitalization is only something to help us. It's not the thing which solves the problem at all. It's just something which makes life easier. So I think we have to, together develop things to get the old economy and the new economy together. I think that's the best way.
Anyone else? Okay. No one needs to be shy. Maria?
I don't know if I followed the discussion and if I missed it, but we're talking about sustainability, and I think we didn't even mention the word SDGs once. We've been talking a lot about energy consumption material, but question to all of you, in your companies, in your startups, how do you implement not only the energy and climate SDG, but all the other ones like gender equality, inclusion, you name it. Is that a topic for you, or is it not interesting for you? Is it not asked by your customer and by your stakeholders?
Just from my side, a quick answer. Of course, it's a topic for us, but it won't help us to solve the climate change problem. So that's why I always talk about CO2. Of course, it's very needed, and you have to discuss things, and we have it installed in our whole value chain, but the CO2 part is the most important thing at the moment.
So I don't think that we think about the goals when we implemented what we implemented. I think that for us it's a given thing. We are 110 people. We have 18 different nationalities. We have a gender split of almost 50-50, and usually in a tech company it's about like 14% women and the rest is men. So without having the goal, we did it, I think. So nevertheless, I think it's important for companies and also for the culture to think about these topics and to if it's not inherently in their culture already, to think about how this could improve. And I think that it's good that you mentioned it, because it's also one thing that it's not a general thing in startups, but I think it's much easier to when you're small and then you grow as a company to have this culture from the very beginning when you're really young than when the company is already maybe 50, 60, 70 years old, where you have to change a lot of things and processes. And okay, for us, we are already 8 years old, or 7 years old, which is also already old for a startup, but we started like this from the beginning.
Sorry, with the question is like how we deal with gender equality, or does the...
It was a very valid question from Maria, because if anyone doesn't know, so SDG stand for the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, and World Changers in Tech always underlines that we do our events based on our SDG goals, which is infrastructure and sustainable cities and communities. So Maria, I think, was just asking in general, when we look at even startups or big corporates, is this something that is in discussion to incorporate SDGs at all in, your working frame or HR, just in general, because it is a big discussion. And I know Maria just came back from Davos, so it's really hard, I think, sometimes to see all these goals that people have. And like Jan said, everyone's doing the talk, but the question is, are we doing the walk? But just to give...
Yeah, of course we're doing that. For us, it's a little bit more easy, I think, with a big company because we are like around 9 to 10 people. Everyone is valued the same. We try to use local producers. We try to have a sustainable production and have not just the product, but the production as well, how we deal with each other. We do not have, I'm honest, we do not have a person which is controlling it every time, but no problems from this side. I think, sorry.
But I feel like even if we asked our audience, a lot of, not younger generation, but it's almost a given, right? I feel like it's something that we don't have to necessarily highlight anymore for ourselves because we see it as a principle that these things should be part of business practices. So that's, and you want to go ahead, Kilian?
I got it at the end, exactly. I mean, I work for the company WORLD. I think probably 90% of the sales guys are guys. And 50% of the company are sales guys. So it's quite, and you feel the culture internally. So it's yeah, we realized as a new team, it's quite funny. Like my 2 colleagues are developers, and I would say very gender oriented. But when we got our calendars for 2020, which naked women on it. We had our fun, of course. This is good. We are in the construction industry. And I would say the construction industry is the one industry which did not have any improvement of effectiveness in the last 200 years.
It's a very honest reply.
I
applaud you for being honest to give us an insight to what it's like and what some areas of business are still like, and there's still a lot of change that needs to be done. But I think that does speak to the younger startups and crowds already seeing as something as a normal given, and in other places there still needs to be a lot of work done.
But you do have man's calendar too, so.
To give you a better answer on SDGs, we even forced by regulation to report on that because of our company side, and our customers are asked for it. How do they invest? Are they looking on ESG criteria and everything? So it sounded a bit odd, my answer, but we have to deal with it so long that I like to look at other things because reportings and everything is good, but yeah, as I said, you have to act.
I think what Maria mentioned, and it's a very valid point, and for us it's maybe more of a given. But I also worked in other environments before where it wasn't a given, so that's why I changed, for example, my job several times. And now I'm in a company where it is a given, and where you can actually, wherever or whoever you are, you can strive and you can build something where you believe in and the company believes in. And I think this is something that every other bigger industry and corporate has to learn. They will not find the right people to work for them if they don't take this as a given and implement it. So I don't think in 20 years there will be a good women calendar, because I don't think that any woman wants to work for that.
But we have also a calendar for men, with men. So I think that's the way how the construction industry deals with it.
So maybe a calendar just with people would also do it too, with probably clothes on. Okay, are there any other last questions inspired through the last discussion that we just had on our panel, or to our panel? Well, if not, I'd like to thank you guys very much for a very interesting and thorough discussion of this panel, and thank you all for being here and coming. And one big round of applause.